like to bring to the table Michael Hefner, Vice President of Global Industry Leads for Appian. Michael, you're here to talk about digital transformation without sacrificing customer service. Tell us more.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you so much, Teresa, as well, and AIIM. And a big thank you to your listeners. We really appreciate the fact we get to present and share our story. So without much fanfare here, let me do two things. I'll introduce a little bit of my background, but most importantly, I want to share some customer perspectives on Appian. I'm also going to share a use case out of the banking world. I think that's very appropriate for the headline of this topic. And then at the end, I'm going to share some insights that hopefully you'll find useful when it comes to evaluating the landscape of technology providers. And let's start there. I mean, I've been in the industry for the better part of 2 decades, always driving change. So I loved hearing some of the comments today and some of the discussion today. And having been on the other side of the table, so to speak, I really feel for the audience. It's a forest, and often it's difficult to understand where to go. So hopefully I can provide some useful tips right at the end of the presentation as well. But that said, let's start with our customers. And in particular, I'm going to focus on financial services. Appian is relevant in many industry verticals, but financial services really is still our most significant industry and fastest growing. And the topic I wanted to discuss here with this slide is to really share with you not just a couple of logos, and this is a small subset of logos, but really the major value drivers our customers are getting from technology, from the Appian technology stack. And in particular, wanted to highlight the 4 major domains: customer lifecycle, customer journey, lending, operational efficiency, and GRC. Ultimately, think about Appian as a unifier. The ability to unify a customer journey in a complex environment like a highly regulated business like banking. Often that journey starts with the customer, traverses many internal functions and different lines of business, and then results in an output to the customer, an experience. Helping to streamline, improve that journey is one of the value drivers that we're seeing on a repeat basis. And in fact, it's the deep dive bank story I'm going to share in a moment. But quite honestly, often our customers will actually also get benefit from some of these other domains. On the lending side, it's the full vertical of lending activities, from loan origination to loan management to loan syndication even, and specialized lending. And in the times of COVID, and I hope everyone is safe, in a time of COVID, also things like stimulus lending. Speed is the differentiator. I'll share an example. When the Paycheck Protection Program was launched, banks had about 2 weeks from the act being signed to the program actually executing. We saw the need. We wanted to help. We assembled a very small, fast team. I think we put the pieces in play on a Friday, and by Wednesday we had a fully functioning offering for the marketplace, not just around loan capture, but also the complexities that were really to come, the complexity under the waterline around forbearance. Even though some of those rules have not been written, part of the value that Appian brings is a platform built for change. We were able to create an offering that would allow banks to get started and then very rapidly adjust as the rules would change, and the rules have changed dramatically, as I think everyone's aware. Operational efficiency, it's all about how do we become more effective? How do we drive out non-value added activities? And GRC is absolutely one of those domains that where we play either at the individual GRC topic, like an AML, KYC, FATCA, you name it, or the join, where we actually help our customers manage GRC as a suite. And then ultimately it being about who are your customers and continuously evaluating them across simple and complex constructs, everything from various ownership structures to what are the products and services they're consuming, and the overlay of the rules that really govern how business is done in the domicile, and then the risk patterns from a corporate control perspective. So these are some of the big use cases. And I love the message from the speaker, the recorded speaker. We completely agree. It's not about replacement. When we think about the future work and automation, it's really about the join. It's about how to simplify complexity and deliver great customer experience. We think that's all about uniting data, process, and people. And then also, obviously, robotics, rules, and AI. It's an exciting time, but it can also be a bit terrifying, I think. But we're seeing the value that's being added really being about the enhancement of the output, the better experience, the greater insight. The patterns of value, the repeat patterns of value of how our customers are engaging with Appian really is threefold. And often it's all of these. But it could be everything from building a new application for a new need. I mentioned PPP, that's a great example. Or rebuilding something that was already there and doing that incredibly fast, but also doing that in complex, highly regulated environments with lots of guardrails and support, but really, really fast. Or the second pattern, a repeat pattern that we see continuously, is extending the useful life of investment decisions that have already been made by the enterprise, the SAPs of the world, the big stacks, how to make them better, how to enhance them, how to extend the useful life. And then by far the most popular use case pattern is the connecting and unifying for optimized outcomes. Think of it as an orchestration layer that helps to overlay your legacy architecture and then enrich and enhance that with plug and plays in the banking side with fintechs, for example. So I'll move to next slide. There we go. So what makes us different? It's about the full stack. So for us, it's thinking about automation in terms of all of the components that come to play and not just a singular component. So for us, that means workflow, RPA, AI, business rules, case management, all in an industry-leading platform that is also open. We operate in very complex regulated environments where technology decisions have already been made. So pick RPA, for example. We're completely open to and have great integrations with the large RPA vendors, but we also have our own offerings. So we provide the flexibility for our customers to engage with the platform as a full stack or take advantage of the fact that it's an open architecture. Data anywhere is a real differentiator for us. Most software companies want to take ownership of their customers' data. We're the direct opposite. We believe, especially in the regulated businesses that we operate in, that the data should reside in your golden copy, in those data stores that are part of your legacy architecture. And then whether that data is inside the four walls or outside the four walls, structured or unstructured, Appian's role is really to make that data accessible and actionable as part of a transaction, a decision, or an engagement with a customer. And then low code for us is not something our customers in the ideal will engage as a unified front of IT and business working together. We do not engage in an environment where we're hiding what we're doing from the IT organization, quite the opposite. This isn't about just reinventing SharePoint and having a low fidelity tool. This is about enterprise grade problem solving. And that really requires agility and speed, yes, but it also requires the guardrails that are required to support true enterprise. You know, and that really for our customers means auditability, scalability, and absolutely security. No one wants to end up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal for the wrong reasons. So let's jump into the case. Very, very excited to share this bank case. This is a very fast-growing, very significant regional bank. They're doing really remarkable things, and they're doing the things that we often talk about, which is how do we maximize the value we can get from data, and how to put the customer at the center of the transaction versus the product. Especially in banking, there's a legacy of a line of business, functional, geographic orientation, much of which driven by regulatory constructs, but much of that also just being driven by legacy. We think it's difficult to rip and replace some of those business structures. So the better move, the more successful move is to leverage Appian to put the customer front and center. And I'm going to share some of the principles behind what the customer accomplished and how they approached it. But just to give you a couple of data points of what we're talking about. So they leveraged all of their existing data and existing assets. They did not need to migrate. This wasn't about a rip and replace. They very much focused on simplifying the customer journey. And they very much focused on beautiful UIs that did not require deep developer skills. And when they focused on the UIs, they focused very much so on the employee experience. The employee experience was very much front and center for their strategy and what they were trying to accomplish. A couple outcomes, very important outcomes. I'll jump to the punchline. They were able throughout this project that included Appian, some other select technologies, double the size of the business while keeping headcount flat. They were able to accelerate the introduction and testing of new products and services, having that kind of agility to try something new and differentiate it and still do it in a highly regulated environment on top of the legacy stack is really what it was all about. So we're talking about a bank, right? So what does a bank typically look like? A bank typically is assembled of various functions, and all of the functions have their own discrete applications. So whether you're talking about prospecting or onboarding or product onboarding or servicing, it's a myriad of applications that tend to just very narrowly focus. So the idea was the new idea that this bank accomplished leveraging Appian is, let's recognize that much of that existing architecture you can't necessarily replace, but also recognize that in that existing architecture, that's where a lot of the data resides. So how do we begin to start putting the customer at the center, leverage all of that data, and then start thinking about things like journeys? So whether a customer starts with something as simple as a checking account and then maybe evolves that to a savings account, evolves that to a mortgage, and then maybe starts a small business, ultimately it's a singular customer. And the bank needed to more effectively make the entire story about the customer without having to re-architect the entire core netting. Appian was key to that strategy and enabling that story, and we're incredibly proud of what this customer was able to accomplish. Let me advance here. So keys to success in how they went about this, and this is actually true for, broadly true for all of our customers. The road to success should not be the left side of this picture. It should really be the right side of this picture. When you're paving a road, you're fixated on the start and the bottom, and you're not given a lot of flexibility to change your mind. With Appian, it's much more modular. You can actually attempt a smaller change or a very significant transformation and decide to start in the middle, or maybe 2/3, or maybe start with this piece, and then we're going to layer another piece on top of it. So the premise here is that to enable change and an effective change strategy, your vehicle for driving that change needs to be adaptable and flexible and allow you to start anywhere. So very important for this bank, and absolutely something that we're seeing as a repeat pattern. So I'm going to watch time, and I'm close to being done. I did promise this, what to look for in a technology partner. I think it's incredibly important that we share with you based on all of the experiences we've had. And this is a very personal slide to me because I've been in the change business for so long, and I've sat on the other side of the table. So you have to go beyond the elevator pitch. You have to be able to evaluate the real customer story and what change was driven with the technology. Otherwise, it's just spin. Was the technology a key enabler in handling complexity, not just the simple? You know, you don't want to end up with a mushroom forest of disconnected survey apps. This is about managing complex change. Can the vendor guarantee it? Can they move fast? And can that guarantee be based on a history of success? Who are they hiring? So if somebody says it's simple, it's business user driven, the easiest thing you can do is go to their hiring website and look for what kind of skill set is required. If they're hiring for decades of Java, you know, it's interesting. Look for full stack automation, open full stack automation, and the ability to move it with agility. And probably the most important thing on this page, secure, reliable, with great governance, great DevOps, and then beautiful UIs that can really differentiate. So those are my calls. Those are my sort of hints to those that are probably facing a lot of confusion with a lot of information out there. Takeaways: turbocharge your customer experience. Here's what you have to do. Unify your data. Put the customer at the center. Manage your process and people through automation, but it's additive. Leverage tools like RPA and AI to simplify the repetitive, AI to create greater insights. And then simplify the business complexity. Complexity isn't going away, but find the mechanisms that allow you to move with agility and to really begin to challenge legacy business operating models. So with that, I think I am exactly on time. That never happens.
Well, thank you, Michael. Yes, we're running short on time, but I do have one last question for you today. You talked a lot about eliminating complexity, simplicity. I loved what you said about enterprise-grade problem solving. One of the biggest problems is that I have files everywhere. I've got files in Excel, I've got email, I've got SharePoint. Yeah. How does Appian help me bring all that together?
It's all about the data. And listen, Excel is a great tool for analytics. Excel, for example, is not a great tool for running your business. And you know, I've run capital markets operations. I understand why companies do it, but it's incredibly risky. So move the running out of your business out of SharePoint and Excel. Use those tools as they were intended, and that would be the core of my message.
All right, very good. That is Michael Hefner, Vice President of Global Industry Leads for Appian. Michael, thank you so much for being part of our event today.
Thank you.